Welcome to Make It Dairy Free. I am Larissa, and today we are making one of my favorite vegan fall recipes, pumpkin bread. Last week I shared that I love meals that can be versatile depending on your own needs or maybe the ingredients that you have in your fridge. However, another way to get me to love to make a recipe over and over is that it is easy, whether it is the amount of ingredients or the process. And this one needs only 8 ingredients plus some spices, and it only needs 1 bowl. So it is super easy. We're going to be starting out with our wet ingredients, and I love using a clear bowl when I am mixing dry and wet ingredients. This helps me be able to just look at the bottom real quick. I just do like a little beep, and then I can see if there's any dry ingredients that are still remaining. It's just a nice little hack. No, it's not necessary, but it just ensures, especially if you are new in the kitchen, that you are doing things properly. So into our large bowl, we're going to be adding pumpkin puree, brown sugar, a neutral oil, unsweetened applesauce, and vanilla extract. And then we're going to whisk this together until we have a really cohesive mix. I just want to point out a few tips about this particular section. For the pumpkin, you can use a fresh pumpkin that you have roasted and then pureed yourself. Additionally, you can just use the canned pumpkin that you find in the stores. You just want to make sure that it just says pureed pumpkin or fresh pumpkin and not pumpkin pie mix or pumpkin pie filling, because that has other ingredients that we don't want inside of this recipe. I also know we have some friends that want to omit oil. So if you want to do that, you can just replace it with the same amount of applesauce in addition to the applesauce that the recipe already calls for. You can also do this with things like non-dairy yogurt, mashed bananas, even though that will give it some like a pumpkin banana-y taste. Banana-y, that's a word. Or you could also do it with like coconut cream, which is like that fatty part when you chill a can of full-fat coconut milk. You could use that as well. So now we're going in with our dry ingredients using a sieve to sift all of our ingredients. We're adding in some all-purpose flour, baking powder, baking soda, salt, and our spices, which are cinnamon, ground ginger, ground cloves, allspice, and nutmeg. So I am using a pumpkin spice mix that I made myself. You can use store-bought pumpkin pie blend. I just like to be able to control my ingredients a little bit better, whether, you know, I want more cinnamon in this recipe or I want more allspice or nutmeg, and also depending on your preferences, if you want to control that as well. You can use the store-bought one, but I like to control it better myself. Also, before you look at me like I'm crazy about asking you to sift your ingredients, it is really important, especially if you have kids in the house, and let me show you why. One reason that we're sifting is because it helps to remove clumps and aerate our dry ingredients without having to get another bowl and whisk our dry ingredients. So this is helping with that fluffy, soft texture that we really want to achieve out of a quick bread. But also, if you have kids and they cook, then you'll notice these clumps, which happens often from them grabbing more flour when they already have stuff on their hands, or maybe using a wet spoon or cup when they're grabbing the flour out of your container. You definitely don't want clumps, especially into something like this. You'll have like those little balls of white that you may have seen in like quick breads or something that you're making, and we don't want that. And yes, I am blaming my kids here, but realistically, it is probably them with how often they cook in our house. Also, you can use a gluten-free 1-to-1 flour. You don't want to use just like a single flour, like an almond flour or something like that. You want to stick to those 1-to-1 blends that have a gluten-free flour blend as well as xanthan gum inside of it. Now, we're just going to use a spatula and fold this until combined. You really want to make sure that all of your dry ingredients get incorporated, scraping down those sides and the bottom of your bowl as you need. Once you have all that together, then you can pour into your bread pan. You have 2 options for lining your bread pan. You can either just do this with an oil, like a spray oil or something like that, or what I like to do is lay down some parchment paper, and I spray the sides of this just a little bit to help that parchment paper stick before adding in my batter. And I do the parchment paper because it really helps to get all of the bread out in one piece as soon as the bread is done. However, this is completely optional. So I added those clips on there because it really helps to hold the parchment paper down, especially if you don't want to use any oil whatsoever. But just remember to take those clips off prior to putting it in the oven, just for reference in case you don't want any accidents. Don't ask me how I know. Also, I really like options in muffins and quick breads and things like that. So walnuts, pecans, chocolate chips, seeds, craisins, something like that to really break up that mundaneness I have zero idea if that's actually a word, but it just helps break it up so you're not always feeling like you're eating the same thing. You feel like you're getting something different every single time. And I said I like versatility, so there's that. So this is a new bowl, but same mix, and we're just going to add in some chopped walnuts and chocolate chips because that is what I was feeling today. I do roughly a cup to a cup and a half of whatever you're adding in. I actually like to do this when the batter is almost but not completely mixed together of all of my dry ingredients. This just helps make sure that I don't overmix when adding in those additions. And then just pour into your bread pan and bake. While it's baking, we're going to make a maple cinnamon butter because why not? Into a bowl, some plant-based butter and powdered sugar, and we're going to beat that together until there are no clumps of the butter or the powdered sugar. And then add in some maple syrup and cinnamon and beat that together once more until this is all cohesive. And you can either leave that on the counter or put it in the fridge until your bread is done. This flavored butter is of course completely optional. I just really love the taste of it on the pumpkin bread. It is also really, really good, and I completely won't judge you if somehow the bowl happens to be empty before the bread even comes out of the oven. It is that good. If you don't want to do the butter, I'm also going to, inside of the recipe post, which is linked in the description, I am going to include a vegan glaze that you could drizzle on top, and also a vegan crumble topping that you could put on right before putting into the oven if you would like to try that option as well. The entire recipe is ready in just about an hour. It is perfect for breakfast, brunch, any fall like holiday or just friend get-togethers that you're having, snack time, whatever. It is perfect for all of those things. The full recipe is linked in the description down below the video, and you can also find it if you just go to our website, makeitdairyfree.com, and search pumpkin bread. You can also just Google Make It Dairy Free pumpkin bread and it will come right up for you. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope that you loved this video, and I will see you in the next one next week. Bye, friends.